Anyways, guys, here we are in game number. Oh gosh, is this 5? 3-1. Yes, this is game number 5. This is not looking too great for mYinsanity so far. They have to bring out the big gun, Jjakji. We'll see if we can pull off against ToD. Jjakji's TPP is really not too bad though. I wouldn't even go there. You know what? Forget not too bad. It's actually pretty good compared to most. But needing a bit of a sound change. This is the Acer Team Story Cup Season 3 qualifiers. Ladies and gentlemen, this is going to determine one of two teams that do move on. It's really unfortunate too because XMG will bit of quote-unquote controversy around their partnership with Violet. Regardless of that, they've actually put on a pretty good show so far with some really talented players from XMG. So mYinsanity is got their work cut out for them. I don't know who they send out after Jjakji, in all honesty, before the resurrection, but anyways, guys, spawning in the top left corner of the map, playing for mYinsanity. It's gonna be the red Terran player, Jjakji.
And the upper right, as the blue Protoss, it is ToD.
Now, ToD, Jjakji, they had a little bit of banter before the game. Obviously, on friendly terms with one another. Nothing too spiteful being spit out early on. But the reality is, whether you're friends with an opponent, whether you're their arch nemesis, the reality is you got to keep a very, I think, clean palette when it comes to StarCraft 2. You can't take any of that stuff into consideration when you're playing against one another. You don't take pity on your opponent, and there's no remorse when it comes to winning. But the thing that I'm a little bit worried about for Jjakji is there's a pretty good chance ToD has seen a good few of his games, having cast him quite a lot frequently, actually, or not frequently, quite a lot recently. But beyond that, I don't know how much Jjakji's actually seen of ToD.
Well, they seem to be pretty good friends.
But I highly doubt they're exactly trading replays out, like.
No, that's probably true. In fact, they're probably friends because ToD is also a caster and host, so. What?
What?
I'm just trying to think of how.
So I thought there's like some cheese going on. I was like, I'm looking at the build orders. Nothing looks crazy. Like, what are you?
Just thinking, saying words out loud.
Jjakji taking that gas. Probably gonna go with a Reaper opening, and if not, at least the double racks with the tech lab and the reactor, because of course oracles are gonna be a problem. ToD hasn't shown them so far, but he hasn't had Terrans to fight yet. So, of course, oracles have been even if they're in base, oracle openings into charge lot into storm, like that's kind of like the European Protoss way to play at the moment. Whether ToD decides to follow that or go for quicker Colossus is going to be, I think, one of the biggest questions, because there's not a lot of different ways you can play this matchup. I mean, it's somewhat limited, but it's more about execution than it is about style, I guess, in that regard.
Well, it's limited for the Terran.
That's very limited for the Terran.
Yeah, Terran really has only one thing that they really want to do, honestly, and that's the Reaper expand.
How sick would it be, by the way, if Jjakji pulled out like an illusion versus Hawk? It just goes mech out of nowhere. Like sup.
Jjakji would not be the player that does that. Supernova, he's actually been streaming a lot. If you guys want to watch really high level mech versus Protoss, he does that sometimes. But he's not the type to bring out such weird things.
First Reaper gonna get into the base, same time as the Mothership Core, of course, but getting a scout. I like the full wall off ToD made over here, actually. This prevents Jjakji from going for that wrap around the mineral line to scout. This is actually a huge nuisance when it comes to scouting. But Combat Jug's kicking in. ToD unfortunately missed scouts his first scout, not quite so lucky as Jjakji, but Command Center finishing up in due time. We got those extra racks coming up very quickly here. I'm actually surprised to see 3 racks with a reactor. This might just be a lot of really aggressive marine pressure early on. I mean, it's not quite the same as 5 racksing, of course, but this can be something that catches your opponent off guard. A lot of times as a Protoss player, no matter what you're investing in, you don't have a lot of units available to you, and 4 marines pumping across the map can deal with a Mothership Core and Stalkers quite easily.
I think Jjakji will definitely be going for a poke with those marines. They might even have combat shield by the time he decides to poke. That's only if he gets combat shield first. Otherwise, then of course not.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't necessarily think of the combat shields first, just simply because there's the threat of oracles at any given time. Stim seems to be the go-to.
Yeah, Stim is usually there actually was some cases where you get combat shields first, and if you were afraid of oracles, I remember some people experimenting with that.
I missed the Muslims pushes where you get like that fast +1 above all else, and you just go with like a lot of bio early on.
Yeah.
Like those were always a lot of fun to watch, but Reaper hops back up into the main. Unfortunately, it will die this time, but it gets
First blood.
A decent scout, I suppose.
Did you see the Forge and the Robo? It's all a Robo.
I didn't see the Forge, though, unfortunately. Unfortunately. But no,
Like a lizard.
See, that Robo was actually really nice because, I mean, for ToD, this is... Yeah, that lizard picture is what you're talking about. For ToD, this is kind of like, okay, my opponent might have Widow Mines coming. I need to be prepared. I'm not going to have detection otherwise. So that's why we see the Observer coming out so quickly. But this is the problem I was talking about, where you don't have a lot of units available to you. And this push from Jjakji, it's a small handful of Marines, but it's a small handful of Marines that can get a lot done.
Mm-hmm. That is definitely true.
There's even a Marauder behind this too. So if nothing else, this should be able to bait that overcharge. I think he circumvents the Stalker, tries to come in from behind. God, it's always so weird watching Marines try and chase down a Stalker. That one range difference is pretty obnoxious. But pushing up towards the natural base, there's a couple Stalkers on the ramp, but that's okay because he'll be able to just shoot the Nexus. He'll be able to kill probes if the Stalkers want to disengage. So an overcharge is going to be necessary. Baits that out really quick.
That is what this push does. If you can kill a Stalker or maybe even some sentries, that is great as well.
If he
but
scanned right now, that'd be sick.
He could.
He does? Oh, Jjakji! You're the best! Sorry, that's the Terran in me freaking out for a sec, guys. But no, he's playing this like nothing too crazy. I mean, the Observer Snipe was really cool, but it's not game changing. It's going to be a nice way to get ahead in this game because it'll prevent. Oh, that's Stalker! 3-0!
Stalker!
Anyways, without that Observer out floating around, Jjakji is going to be able to start doing drops. He'll be able to try to catch ToD off guard. ToD actually hasn't completely visioned off his base with pylons, so there's some dead space on these cliffs. I mean, once medevacs come into play, it's going to get a lot scarier for ToD. And, you know, Jjakji, he's not exactly Polt in the regards of Nexus sniping, but he's like one of the best multitaskers when it comes to hitting multiple locations at the same time.
Was it really worth it to go all the way down there for one Stalker? Was it, Jjakji?
You know what? As a Terran player... You should know that the answer is clearly yes.
I don't know, man. He didn't even get it.
But the potential's not big, The
It's
potential
like
just
one
like
Stalker.
like screw you, ToD. That Stalker is mine.
I guess his medevacs aren't out yet either, and he already forced off one cannon, so...
Oh, he's gonna get the Stalker now, though.
Oh! Don't,
Nope.
ToD! You're so... Oh, he's dipping on it now.
Look greedy. Oh my god, 1 HP! That one Marauder stims. The precision from Jjakji to make sure that that Stalker died. I hope he's sitting in his chair with a big grin on his face. Even if he doesn't win this game, he'll be like, I got that Stalker, man.
Well, he's once again going to try out and force out another overcharge, and he does.
Now, unfortunately, ToD already has Templar out, so Jjakji can't necessarily go for a quick medevac boost.
He can just drop. There's not a whole lot of units for ToD,
Yeah.
and you can guess that there is no storm. You don't want to usually assume, but you can test it.
It's on the way. He gets to the pylon for free.
Yeah,
That's the
too
big start.
scared.
If he had a third medevac here, I think he could go full bore, but he's missing so many Marines from that drop to be able to go in and do some real damage. And of course, the photon overcharge is just running out in a moment's time, so we'll be able to run back in with a second attack in that regard. But the Observer was replaced. It was sitting there hovering. ToD is warping it aggressively across the map with a Warp Prism, no less. And Warp Prisms, you know, we saw Kane kind of struggle with this, and Zerg are pretty good at dealing with it, but Terran are not.
He has 9 gateways, no third. How many has Jjakji seen? 1, 2, 3. He's only seen 4 gateways, so ToD can still expand off this, but it's a lot of gateways. If he saw an opportunity to break Jjakji with a lot of zealots, he might be able to. Of course, Jjakji's setting up for a very big Doom drop.
Well, ToD's also looking to set a drop himself, and this game I was talking about before. Oh, Ghost Academy on the way. I really like this. Talk about that more in a second because he's not going to get used out of it for the time being. But turns around a stim to respond to this. Zealots are not easily dealt with, and Terran production is usually not enough to deal with massive warp ins.
Jjakji actually goes ahead and gets a Ghost Academy. Now, you do want a Ghost Academy eventually against Storm, of course, but a lot of Korean players prefer just going a lot of units.
If Jjakji had lifted those depots, he would have trapped the Zealots from even coming in, but still forcing the fight in the mineral line ends up working out the same anyways. But big drop goes off, and ToD forced to force the overcharge. Not going to lose the Mothership Core, but trying to focus down the Nexus. Storms are coming in, and unfortunately Jjakji, well, actually going to snipe off a couple Templar here as they try to chase this army down. But Jjakji loses very minimal use of forces, but he doesn't get much for it, sadly.
ToD also tried attacking into the third, but I guess he didn't have quite enough units or felt too uncomfortable with the huge Doom drop, which is now going towards the natural. He still has no... Actually, no, he has 1 Storm. And those are a lot of... Oh,
look, there's not the medevacs instead.
Oh, medevacs, yeah.
Now this Bioforce under a lot of danger. He needs to get out of there. So many zealots, so hard to deal with, especially when they got those level 2 weapon or armor upgrades like they do. But the Ghost Academy, so let's get back to this for a sec. This was a change not too long ago, and we talked to actually Jjakji after he beat out Deer in the Mouse Sports EES finals, guys. And Jjakji pretty much said verbatim, because of course, you know, English and translations and all that, that it was because Ghosts now get the energy built in for an EMP that he was able to really win versus Deer, and he wasn't quite sure if he would have been able to win otherwise. Same thing's going to come into effect versus ToD, where he doesn't have to research that Moby's reactor, so instead can either go for a quicker cloak or additional ghosts early on. Either way, he's going to now have EMPs available to him, something he's been fighting without up until this point. But 2 medevacs fully loaded towards the main, 3 towards the natural. Ooh, feedback will catch one of the medevacs with units inside it, sadly.
Yeah, it was a very low medevac. It was dangerous to begin with. Drop in the main, though, doing some good damage. Targets on the Archon that was formed. And we'll get the Zealots as well.
Can almost overcharge. Can't quite just yet. Now can pop down that overcharge if necessary. But ToD not feeling the necessity to burn it.
ToD is defending very, very well, I might add.
Yeah,
you know, at this
absolutely.
point, Jjakji's in his element, like that's mid-game. But I think ToD getting Storm as fast as he did, you know, it kind of scared Jjakji, and also, of course, helped him defend multiple avenues of attack with feedback. Because Jjakji, as you can see, he's afraid of a counterattack where he's caught without ghosts or without significant amount of Marines. He has those bunkers.
This time Jjakji actually doesn't have a lot of units left at home like he did last time. Not even a wall after, even if he were to raise those depots. So Zealots are going to get in here. Ghosts are going to do what they can. Snipes might be more necessary than anything else here. You might lose a couple. I mean, Ghosts they do a lot of damage. But
they're bad, honestly. But still need more. I guess that was a little attack.
Jjakji's hitting multiple locations, but he's not getting a lot done for it, sadly. Still trying to cut away with these Zealots. You know, one of the key things we do see is that investment in Widow Mines. The Widow Mines were actually buffed recently, guys, but they do a lot more splash damage, so they're a lot more effective at taking out a lot of Zealots at once. The problem remains, though, that they can only really target one unit at a time.
One thing that is missing from ToD is, of course, that secondary splash. He's getting it, you know, right now, which is actually a very good time. But Jjakji, he's already worried mostly about the High Templars. He's still having a problem against just that.
Oh, wow.
So mixing in Colossus and forcing him to get Vikings as well is going to really stress him out.
Summer Grub, less than 100 resources separates these two players right now.
Really?
Now it's less than 100.
Also, keep in mind, Jjakji did not have an army for a very, very long time. He didn't have access to Hellbats, which is some TAM players like putting those in. But also, the upgrades are very, very late.
Hellbats are really starting to fall out of fashion though, with the Widow Mines doing more damage. It's kind of the reverse situation when it comes to versus Banelings. Like, you go for Hellbats because they're more guaranteed damage. In this scenario, Widow Mines are more guaranteed damage because they'll kill any one unit on the ground that they'll attack, so whether it's the Zealot or the Stalker. But more importantly than that, the shield splash damage is huge now.
Yeah, that is true. It is. I mean, Hellbats never really got really popular, but if you're gonna do something other than just Bio, Ghost Viking, you're adding in Widow Mines rather than Hellbats.
Yeah, Blue Flame was a good compliment to have too when available, but unfortunately this one Widow Mine, unfortunately, we'll go down. Nice go off on that. Templar feedback goes off too, but as we see the overcharge force once again at a big point of contention at this base.
This is very important. If Jjakji can break him here, you can break into the natural as well, but it's so hard to guess that they are running out of High Templars. You just can't simply say, well, I guess that was the last High Templar, because they're going to have more in the natural and the main.
Technically, Jjakji could be scanning like crazy, but the reality is he wants to be mining and muling and doing everything he can to get his army further ahead, so it makes sense that we don't see lots of scans coming up. But this small attack, not going to get a lot done. Good repair on that bunker, we'll keep it alive. Now we start seeing scans coming up, but it's more looking for observers than anything else. Sun click on the ghost. It's on the way, of course, but not quite available yet. Good snipes, though.
That cannon rage is unexpected on the next.
I know. It's not only that, but the actual physical cannon itself too. It's just. All right. Well, ToD looking to take that fourth. Jjakji surprisingly not putting any pressure on this. One single Marine does go up here to try and do what it can. You know, Jjakji's upgrades too. I gotta just bring up how, like, I wouldn't say behind, but lacking they are. As soon as he's on 2-2, I mean, Jjakji's trading all the way he is so far this game, guys, with 1-1. ToD doesn't have a decimating army supply, or sorry, weapon damage, but his armor is what's really been keeping these Zealots alive. With these weapon upgrades finally completing, Jjakji's going to be able to tear through these a little bit better and a little bit easier.
Yeah, ToD took a long time to go into that +1 weapons, I believe, so Jjakji has caught up a little bit despite that late armory.
Well, I mean,
scan perfectly.
A lot of the +1 weapons come more for the Colossus compliments than anything else, right? I mean, you know, Zealots with +1 are not as big of a deal.
Right. That's true.
I like the Vikings finally getting that Observer. I mean, this was good
Yeah.
prediction, good sense and timing, and he'll certainly have enough if he waits a few more seconds to take an engagement.
16 minutes is a good option to start thinking of either adding in Ghost or
drop.
adding in Vikings.
Drop while this is going on behind the mineral lines, no less. It's going to be a little bit hard for Zealous to run in here, but another overcharge force to deal with. This medevac going to be focused down, so no escape for Jjakji, but he'll get his money worth out of this drop. Zealous has just been flooding in here and getting not a lot done.
It was alright. It would have been really great if he killed a lot of probes in the process, but ToD was very quick on pulling them away. The attack is still, they're still maneuvering around each other. This is a point where ToD actually, if he thinks about it, could put down cannons to make sure he isn't caught without an observer, and he is not.
Oh, that EMP though.
Cloak.
And all the Colossus lose all of their shields. And 74 with the Marauders. And of course, Vikings on the front lines. There's simply not enough Stalkers here, and there's no more Storms available. ToD is going to lose this fight in the middle of the map. Jjakji's stimming his bio back, center stepping. He loses all the Colossus. And let's not forget the
ground
Ghosts.
army was still pretty good. I mean, that was an effective trade. If he gets away with maybe some Archons.
I mean, like, okay, we look at the resource loss as an effective trade, sure, because in the end, Jjakji lost a lot of his Ghosts, which kind of sucks, but the Colossus are such slow tech units, it's not going to be easy to replace those.
Just have a few backup storms, but he's actually missing out on those emergency storms. He doesn't have any in the natural or the main. An attack happened at the fort that forced, I think, Jjakji just to not simply put SCVs over there. Actually, it killed a lot. 38 SCVs actually been killed this entire game by ToD, but I don't know if that was because of that.
Random Widowmines taking huge pot shots off there. I like the cannon coming at the top of this cliff too out of ToD. So many times, even if it's just like posturing your units there in a hold position opposed to like a full-on drop, it's so difficult to deal with this cliff here. So it's really important that ToD put that down.
Did not even notice in the lower left. Very smart from Jjakji to go ahead and take a hidden expansion. Usually that's something we see like as a tactic, as a build, but this is a perfect time too. ToD's not going to scout over there.
No, ToD's going to be focused on trying to break Jjakji's fourth, whether it's the one out towards the south or the one towards the north, but I mean, Jjakji, where's the Ghosts? He hasn't replenished
those.
Needs more
Ghosts. I think he was expecting more Colossus.
Yeah, well, even that, he's got not a lot of EMPs. He's going to need some pretty perfect ones on top of these Archons.
When those storms are lagging behind severely, he has 2 storms, 1 completely misses, does not get the 4th, although he gets most of the SCVs thanks to a single Zealot.
Yeah, this army for Jjakji is really not looking bad, guys, but the problem is, like, he's got to engage at the right angle, the exact right way, or else this could go very poorly for him. Nice one-way shots off, again, randomly, stripping shields. It's kind of like getting its own EMP off.
Having that secret base, I think he can go ahead and give up this one. I'm actually not sure why he's so...
Well, I actually really like that he's putting a lot of dedication to protect it, though, because it makes it look like there's no other base on the map. Like, this is a really important base. That's why he's trying so hard to defend it.
And he's bought enough time that he now has a lot of Ghosts that are just popping out right now, and he also has 3-3 finished. So he's actually in a very good position, and ToD was constantly very hesitant, because if he walks into, 6 EMPs across his entire army, that army actually dies. So I can understand why he would be very hesitant to go in there.
And that's the thing, like, Jjakji, again, for a lot of this game was playing 1-1 versus ToD's level 3 armor upgrades. Now both players are maxed out in upgrades. We got a lot of Ghosts available, something that wasn't available moments ago. Ghost deal bonus damage versus Zealots. They got the EMPs to strip the shields off everything else. They can be really good units when used correctly. But staying clumped up around the ramp like this is what really scares me. I do like that he thought about taking those rocks down.
The fact that this is not a planetary is, at first it's like, oh, it's not that bad of an idea, and then this happens. Just 1 or 2 Zealots constantly over there, and you're just kicking yourself in the head. Finally puts on a bunker. Thank God.
There's the cannon in the middle of the map you were talking about before as well, to make sure there's no detection problems. But gotta get those EMPs off if he wants to engage. Does get a couple of free shots off on the Colossus, but with the Marauders. But there we go. Those are some decent EMPs.
Oh, he's chasing.
But all the Ghosts on the front line. He's gotta be so careful with that. These are such important units that he can't afford to give away for free.
They can actually tank a lot, surprisingly, especially when it comes to storms.
Don't they have like they've got 100 health, a lot of freaking health, but this is so stupid. I'd love to see a nuke though. Like, even if it's just to take out the cannon.
That's not stupid at all. That actually breaks a formation like this.
Actually, a nuke up here towards the north too. There's those 3 cannons.
Oh yeah, too.
Still focusing on anything but nukes for the time being. Investing in 4 more Vikings beyond this, so I think he's gonna die for these Colossus, expecting to lose them.
Oh, it's actually going to do very, very well. They're spread out rather well. The Colossus don't, or the Archons.
Look at that cloak, though. That cloak coming to big effect. Zealot slamming into Marauders. Not going to be what he wants to do. And ToD pushed back in a big way. For the first time, a player actually takes a distinctive advantage, because these two have been training out pretty effectively over the whole course of this game.
Yeah.
But now,
Oh, it looks
this
like ToD
Nexus.
did find that secret base, by the way. So that was one thing that ToD's like, why are you
But
still in
the
this game
Nexus-
so much? Base for a base.
It works out. ToD's got this base towards the south, though, too. And Jjakji doesn't know about that one. I wouldn't call it a secret base, but it
Your
is
forces
undiscovered.
are under attack.
Yeah, it's one that you're not thinking of yet. You know they're on 4 bases, but it takes a moment to realize maybe they have a 5th, and it's probably gonna be down there.
Medivacs are retreating ghosts.
Pick up the ghost.
It's kind of hoping it would,
Medivac
but it will
would've
last
died
the Medivac.
anyways.
Yeah, exactly.
Free Stalker is not quite free medevac actually for ToD.
You know, this went from being Jjakji's favorite in such a big way to like evening out once again. I mean, Army Supply is in favor of Jjakji for sure, guys. But again, it's this extra base for ToD at the moment that's really keeping him afloat in a big way. He's got double the worker supply, so his income's great. But it's not the situation where the workers influence the Army Supply yet. Neither player is maxed.
Yeah, it's
Oh, good
they
EMPs.
go down.
Beautiful
Oh, very
EMPs.
nice.
He gets all the storms, forcing another Archon to be made, and this is the engagement
Wow.
Jjakji needed.
Wow, ToD. I mean, his army
Last
wasn't
Colossus
as
gonna go down.
powerful, but that was also a bad engagement to take.
Oh, good game, well played. That was, I gotta give it to both players. Really, honestly, guys, that was such a back and forth game, and I much applaud to ToD. Of course, he took out 3 players for mYinsanity, but Jjakji turns it around for his team, and now brings the score up 3-2.